Hey guys, thanks for stopping by my channel today. I am so excited to be filming today because I have missed filming, and basically just because life got in the way. I'm trying to remodel my house. My husband had oral surgery. I've got a new position at my job and life has been crazy. And so it's been more than a little while since I talked about how I was going to review for you the Tom Ford bronzer brush. And many of you said that you were excited to see that review. I was excited to do that review and I was delayed. And as it turns out, it was actually for the better because I really got a chance to play with this brush. And it's a lot of money and I really wanted to be able to give you kind of a thorough, not just my really excited first impression or first couple of days impression, because I just really wanted to be accurate with this. And I didn't want to look back on this video and later, like a year from now, and not have the same opinion. I've given it a lot of time and I'm very confident in what I'm about to share with you today. So, what also took me a little bit of time was that I had to talk to Tom first. I know, right? Wouldn't that have been awesome if I could have given you a video where I said, yeah, Tom and we were having a chat. So not quite, but what I did do was I had a couple of questions, particularly about the, what kind of bristles I had, because I had heard from a number of you and then I had done some research. This brush seemingly was originally released as a natural bristle brush, which honestly, I prefer natural bristle brushes. I think they blend things better, was my initial impression. The one that I purchased, I believe, and I say that with a footnote to be continued. Mine, the one that I have, because I bought it recently, it is made of synthetic hairs, and that is exactly, I got it from Sephora during the sale. And so their description of the brush is that it is synthetic fibers. Interestingly though, so the brush is $115, which I got on sale, which I strongly recommend and suggest. I believe Sephora is coming out with their, their fall sale, their November sale. So that should ideally be coming up again. And so if you're interested in the brush at that point, get it at that time. But it's $115. Ironically though, it was $115 when it was a natural bristle brush as well. And so then I was like, I didn't like how that sat. I just didn't like how that sat with me. And so what I did was I called Tom Ford International Customer Service. And I will say this about their customer service. In order to get product answers, you were also directed simultaneously to their product order line, in order to place an order. And I was a little bit put off. The gal was very sweet, but I was a little bit put off because she kind of didn't know what I was talking about. You know how each brand has kind of their quintessential item or series of items? So I just very casually was like, I just have a question about the number 5 bronzer brush. And she didn't know what I was really talking about. I had to give her a lot of details. She asked me for the article number and she's like, oh, the concealer brush? I'm like, no, the bronzer brush. So I was not feeling Tom Ford. I was like, I'm like, how do you not know the bronzer brush? Now, that being said, I might just have tunnel vision, and this is kind of the premier thing that I know about his brand. And so he sells lots and lots of other items. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a second chance. So what she said to me was during that call, she says, and this I had respect for. She says, honestly, because she had put me on hold and said, let me go find the answer for you. She came back and she said, I actually don't know the answer to your question about the bristles of your brush. And so she said, email us. So I was like, all right, I prefer a live person, but fine. You're telling me to email you. And so I did email Tom. And actually I said, dear Tom. I said, oh, wouldn't that be nice? Dear Mr. Ford's representative team was actually then the way I said it. I sent that email and I was bummed because I thought I had to delay my video and I was so excited to film. I sent the email at 12:36. I received a reply at 1:10 p.m. same day. And they greeted me personally. They said, dear Gina, right? I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. Feeling better about the Tom Ford brand. So basically I had asked, just generally speaking, you had sold a natural bristle. Seems like you're selling a synthetic bristle brush now. why the change, and then also how do you tell the difference? Because even though Sephora said I was buying a synthetic bristle brush in their description, I was looking at pictures, they all looked the same, and they were priced the same, which was where I was starting with at the $115. So I was like, how do I even know? So then I asked the Tom Ford team, I said, you know, how can I tell the difference? So they get like a B plus answer. First of all, their response time, supreme. But their answer was this: thank you for your recent email. We are happy to announce this year that most of our brushes will be made with high-graded synthetic fiber or synthetic hair. We are trying our best to not use animals as our prime source of brushes. I have respect for that, even though I have to true confess that I like the way a natural bristle brush performs better when it comes to blending. But I love animals too, so how can I be so contradictory? I don't know. Please note that our synthetic hair have been handpicked and designed to be as a... There's a little bit of grammar issue there, but this is what it says word for word. Please note that our synthetic hair have been handpicked and designed to be as amazing and superior quality to our natural hair brushes. We will always keep our high standard of giving our customer the best quality and experience they deserve. We apologize for any inconvenience. Kind regards, the Tom Ford customer service team. So they didn't really address my question about whether or not or how I would be able to tell the difference. I'm assuming this is a synthetic. It's so soft though that I could see how we might not be sure. Although honestly, I have had both regular, natural bristle and synthetic bristle brushes or hairs that have been both prickly and have been non-prickly. So I don't even think that that's necessarily like an indicator as to what nature of brush hair you have. But it concerns me because there are still a couple of online locations that are advertising the natural bristle brush. I don't know if they actually just have old stock of the natural bristle, which would make me want to buy that. But then I thought, you know what? They might just have an old description and perhaps they just have the current version of the brush, which has been out for quite some time. So let's go on the assumption of this. If you were to purchase this brush now, and by the way, any website that describes the natural bristle, most of them say they're actually sold out of it. So if you were to find this in store, and when you search or shop the Tom Ford website, they all are selling the synthetic brush hairs. And so assume that that would be what you were getting. And if you love animals, we should be happy about that. Even though, like I said, true confess, but that's awful. I hate myself when I say that. I really shouldn't like the natural brush hairs. So, okay, my thoughts on this brush. Let me say this. Since I bought it at the last Sephora Beauty Insider sale, which was more than a month ago, I have not used anything else. I have not wanted to use anything else. I've used this brush in a number of ways. You actually can't see this entire time I've been talking. I've been petting the brush, which I love. Now, a part of me, I think that's actually pretty compelling that I haven't wanted to use something else because of this. I am very cheap by nature. Although when it comes to beauty products and makeup and skincare, I don't necessarily hesitate to spend a lot of money. That being said, I am still very cheap. And I didn't use this brush and get pissed. If I truly didn't like and enjoy the brush, like going along with my gut, then I would have used it every day and given it an attitude. Because I would have been like, really? $115? You are totally not worth $115. And then I would have dared it to prove me wrong. I'm going to keep using you and I'm waiting for you to turn my mind right. I didn't think that at all. I just thoroughly enjoy using it every single day. And like I said, I've been using it a couple of different ways. So I have foundation on, and I'm wearing the Natasha Denona Transformat foundation, kind of a long wearing foundation. I set my face with the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Natural in Light Plus. So a nice light dusting of powder. I had makeup on earlier in the day. This is way later from the morning. So I pretty much, I don't know if you see a little color. I'm going to try to demo to you the way that I do it. I mean, I am going to demo it. I know sometimes I see people demo things on their videos and I'm like, that didn't clear anything up for me. So you will mostly rely on my words, but I would like to try to show you at least a little bit why I like this brush. So first of all, as you can see, it's quite large. And I initially thought that that was going to be the problem, was just how big it was. Like, here's my hand, and the brush takes up not the palm of my hand, but a significant portion of the palm of my hand. So it kind of bulbs out a little bit as it goes towards the top, but it definitely tapers towards the top. And I think that that is part of the genius of this brush. I was talking about the way it feels. It is not prickly at all. That is a huge pet peeve of mine. I'm sure of many of you. I will not tolerate a brush that pokes my skin. My skin is like grumpy as it is. I certainly don't need to be pissing it off by poking at it. This brush is not prickly at all. In fact, it kind of, every time I like touch it and look at it and use it, it just reminds me of a happy pillow. I can't believe that a brush as large as it is able to do the things that it can do. So first of all, despite the fact that it is synthetic bristles, it does blend things out beautifully. I think that has to do with the size, because you aren't putting powder in such a concentrated area. Even though you think, oh my God, I'm going to be winding up putting powder all over my face, due to the taper, you have quite a bit more control. But because it's as wide a face as it is, it actually then diffuses the powder as it broadens out from the place where you deposited the powder. Did that make sense? It does its own diffusing because of how large the surface area of it is. Now, that taper, again, it's not a point, because it's as wide as the brush is. And so again, you're able to kind of apply powder, and it does part of the buffing for you without you doing all of the buffing, which is fascinating to me. So let me show you how I've been using it, and how I've been using it a couple of ways. So I've actually been using this brush to both contour and kind of warm up my face with bronzer. So I'm going to contour right now. I am not a harsh contourer. I don't think that looks good at all. You should not see stripes like a zebra on your face. You should see things nicely blended. That's my personal opinion. I need all the help I can get. So I am going, what did I say? I'm using the, Film Star Bronze and Glow. Bronzing powder and highlighting duo from Charlotte Tilbury. It's a really nice kind of neutrally sort of bronzy shade. And again, I am not a harsh contourer. So, I mean, I have small contour brushes that really get in there. I love the NARS Ita brush, but even that guy is kind of fuzzy. So he kind of diffuses for you also. So what I love, again, going back to this tip, what's interesting, let me say this too. What's interesting about this brush, as soft as it is, it's also firm. So because of its firmness, you can, I mean, it's not obviously not hard, but because of its firmness, you wind up having some control about your powder application, which was how I got daring enough to try to contour with it. Okay, so when I contour with the brush, I touch it to the pan only on the tip. So I don't allow powder to go kind of all over the edge of the brush, just on those tippy top bristles. So I just kind of, as I was doing, I just kind of make sure I pick up powder, but I'm applying such little pressure because I really don't want that much powder to go over the surface area of the brush. Tap off a little bit. And so hair tucked back. I have my earrings on. I never do my makeup with my earrings. We'll see how this works out. So I hold it at the end, light pressure. Again, because I only want the tip of the brush where I've applied that contour powder. I only want that tip of that to kind of hit just ever so slightly the contours of my cheek, of my cheekbone. And so I'll just go in there just a little bit. Hey, you can actually see it on the camera without me having to like over apply it on my face. So again, I'm able to, you can actually, holy cow, you can actually see that I'm really only applying it in the contour of my cheek, despite the fact that this brush head is huge. So now I got to do the other side. Hold on. So again, only on the tip of the bristles and very light pressure, holding it at the end of the brush, just getting it in there just a little bit. It sounded so good in my head when I was planning this video that I can't believe it's actually working out as nicely as it is. Okay, so like I said, I am not a major contourer. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm not sure that most people should be like significantly harsh contourers. So we want to be well blended. And I feel like this brush does it inherently, again, with the way that the brush head is designed and the way that they've applied and laid the brush hairs. Okay, so that's my contour. I am contoured. Yay. Okay, so same brush. Same exact brush. I'm going to go in now and I'm going to warm up the rest of my face because I have to tell you, every time I've been looking at myself in the viewfinder, I'm a little horrified because I'm so pale right now. We'll be taking the thumbnail photo after all of this makeup application. Okay, same thing. So, I'm going to be using kind of my other favorite bronzer right now, which is the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder. I'm using currently Bronze 3. I have used Bronze 2. I've made quite a dent because this guy usually is a bulb, very bulbous, and he's kind of flattening out. I've been using this quite a bit. Okay, same brush, but this time, instead of applying so much just on the tip of the bristles, I apply it more of it just kind of on the side. And I'm just tapping really, really lightly. I tap off the excess. Just get it. I just kind of load up the brush just a little bit. It's interesting to me that this is a synthetic brush because it's picking up powder in a way that I wouldn't have expected it to. Anyway, so now I'm going to go over top of that contour and kind of up into my cheekbone a little bit the way you would just normally bronze your face. But instead, again, I'm going to be using now kind of the width of the brush, as wide as it is, to kind of over blend on that contour, but just kind of very softly bronze up my whole cheek. So just a little bit. And since I applied powder to both sides of the brush, I can then go to the other side as well. And just kind of blend that whole guy in. Same brush. Same brush. Now, again, due to that contour at the top and the pointiness at the top, I'm going to go back in with my Laura Mercier powder. And I'm just going to ever so slightly, again, with just the tip of it, kind of add a little bit of warmth along my hairline, without putting bronzer like all over my face, which is what I would find with other bronzer brushes because they were so big and fluffy, but yet I felt like they would wind up putting bronzer like everywhere. And again, same bronzer still, just kind of going back in, just loosely getting powder all over it. I'm gonna get under my jawline and then with the width of the brush, just kind of drag it down a little bit because my neck is significantly paler than the whole rest of my face. It makes picking a foundation like ridiculously challenging. What do you think? Same brush. Same brush. Like I was saying, like I use it and I don't get mad at it. Like how are you $115? Legit. Like how are you $115? And then I'm like, but you do so well. So that's kind of like my overall impression. I'm going to finish up my makeup while we're talking. Otherwise, I'm going to have you here for like hours and that's not necessary. I'm going to finish up my makeup and I'm going to kind of give you my closing thoughts on this brush. I'm using by Laura Mercier, her blush color infusion, Ginger, with a Sigma F10 blush and powder brush. My overall thoughts on the Tom Ford bronzer brush are this. First of all, they have pretty good customer service, so that's always nice, and I respect that when a brand is able to do that. Do I think it's worth $115? No. I really don't. I'm not sure what you're doing that's so ridiculously different than all of those other brushes that are 10 times less expensive than you are at $115. Do I think it's worth it? No. I also don't think a lot of highlighters are worth the $50 that they are. Do I still buy them? Yes. So is it worth the money? No. Is it worth the purchase? My answer is yes. Because I have thoroughly enjoyed using it. I have sporadic luxury items in my collection, and this will be one of them. I have a Dior highlighter and a Dior mascara. The Dior highlighter is beautiful. I think I talked about that in my Sephora haul. The packaging on it is beautiful, and it makes me smile. Is it worth it? No, probably not. But is it worth the experience of it and the enjoyment that I get from it? Yes. And I am not bitter about the fact that this brush is as expensive as it is, because I love that it does, like I said, a couple of different techniques. I love that I can use it on pointed areas of my face. I love that I can kind of use it all over. I love that it's not prickly. And I love that I'm able to say that I have the Tom Ford No. 5 bronzer brush. So let me say this too. This is hilarious. You know how brushes like come in their little case? This is the only brush I have in my collection that I keep in the case, because I think it needs to be taken care of. When you're $115, I think you need a little bit of extra TLC. I'm going to go in. This looks awful, but I'm going to go in with the new Marc Jacobs highlighter. Officially, it's called the Omega Glaze All Over Foil Luminizer in number 79 Guilty. And I'm going to be using a Sephora brush, the Pro Featherweight Blending Brush, number 93. I don't know if you can actually get it anymore, this brush, but you can definitely get this highlighter. It's beautiful. And it's a bit intense, which I've already discussed how I don't love intense highlighters. But when I use this particular brush, it's a little bit like magic. This highlighter is kind of it's like a goldy bronzy with like a little bit of peach. So if you're very fair skinned, this might not look like the best on you. But when I apply it with a super light hand, and this brush, honestly, I'm pretty happy with what it does for me. I'm not even sure. I always apply such little highlighter that you typically won't necessarily see it pick up on camera. But when I stand in the sun like the vampires, you can definitely see me glisten. Vampires, right? Twilight? They were vampires, right? But this brush, if you can still get this brush, I can't believe I would use a brush as large and as seeming, I guess that's my thing now, is large brushes. But if you can still get this brush and you want to apply light, diffused highlight, definitely check out that brush too. Okay, so hair out from behind the ears. Me and Tom, we're going to hang out. I'm going to let him stay in my life. We are not going to break up. But like I said, overall, if you notice, I keep petting him. Overall, is he worth the money? No. Is he worth the brush? Yes. So do you have the brush? And especially, do you have the older brush? Like, do you have the natural bristle brush? And if you have the older brush, have you touched and played with the newer synthetic hairbrush? And I want to know if you know what the difference is, or if you can tell the difference, or should I try to stalk and hunt down the original brush, even though we have a good relationship as it is? Are you interested in this brush? Have you been eyeing it like me? I've been eyeing it for years, and I actually ignored it so much that I didn't even realize the whole deal with the change in bristle design or bristle orientation, like where the bristles came from, because I didn't even know. I didn't want to admit to myself that I actually wanted it. So I hope that cleared some things up for you. It was my pleasure to buy a very expensive brush for you and give you my kind of reaction and my experience, but I am happy that I own it. I haven't ever used anything else as a result. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you for your patience waiting for this review. I do apologize that it took as long as it did, but I think ultimately in the end, it was kind of worth it. So please leave me your thoughts down below. Find me on Instagram or Twitter. Join me over there. I, again, appreciate you spending your time with me. Is there something else you'd like me to review? Well, it doesn't have to be high-end or high-priced, but I'm happy to do that too. So if there's something that you're specifically interested in having me review for you, please leave me that comment down below, and I will gladly take your suggestions. Otherwise, thank you for spending your time with me. I hope you have a good rest of the day. In the meantime, thanks.